Oh, yeah, boy, it's a Champagne Rugby Podcast. It is me, Tony Lyall, joined with two special guests today, Sam Smith.
Hello, everyone.
And James McOnie is jumping in today also.
Kia ora, kia ora. Great to be back on the old pod. I mean, I know you got rid of me for about, it felt like a month out in the cold.
I'll tell you what, James McOnie, we were expecting you to show up every week.
Oh, right.
And you just haven't showed up until today, so welcome back.
Yeah, every morning we'd wait by the door sort of with big puppy dog eyes like someone whose dad's left in a divorce and never shown back. So it's lovely to have you back in, buddy.
Finally. I don't know how you're trying to get in touch with me, but you never know which message service you're getting it on, and where I've blocked you. So that's the thing. It's like you're not quite sure.
It was actually just intuition. It wasn't. We never sent any messages. We just thought if we vibe it out, one day you'll show back up, and it's worked. We've vibed out, and it's your birthday week as well, mate. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was nice. Crowd Goes Wild. They got me a cake and they did a montage. Everybody needs a montage.
Yeah,
right.
Even Rocky had a montage.
Well, we got you nothing.
Sorry, Sam, but yes.
Yeah, we didn't get you any cake or a montage.
You can have a sip of my hot chocolate if you want.
Actually, I'm okay.
Oh, cool. I'm glad.
I'm watching the KGs now because birthday week is always bad for,
Big week.
It's cheat week, really, when it comes to food and all that sort of stuff. So
and like relationships?
Yeah, if you want. Sometimes that's the hall pass week.
Birthday week is cheat week. And that's like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. When he eats all that food on his cheat day, he also cheats on his wife.
Yeah.
Every single week, once a week, just absolutely whoring up a storm is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
You would, though. He's a very handsome man.
Yeah, I don't know.
I always thought that would be kind of classic. You know how someone, this is going to sound quite morbid, but if a loved one, like a husband, for example, dies overseas and his family wants to get justice for him and they go over and they find out that he was actually with in a 69 with some, you know what I mean? Like the wife is going, justice for my husband on the first news story, and then by the end of the week, what happened to justice for your husband? Where did you find him? Well, he was in a 69. I will admit that he was in a 69. We are trying to find out who, and then I will find retribution.
It's one of the most undignified ways there is to go at the bottom of a 69.
Oh, it is.
It's not how you imagine it when you sort of imagine your life planned out before you. You graduate from high school, you meet a lady, you have kids, you get a dream job, and then in the end you're suffocated between the legs of some Italian woman. It's not how we imagined it went for us.
It's when you're the most vulnerable, Like I always think that even when I was watching White Lotus, and this isn't really a spoiler, but I thought the time to do it is when they're in the 69, or when they're il flagrante, when things are going on. You go, well, that's the time that the death could happen.
Well, I haven't seen White Lotus.
I also haven't seen it.
That's all I'm giving away.
But after knowing there's notable 69 scenes, I might have to give it away a wee brief.
Yeah, I think you should.
All right, well, now we've discussed the 69 at length, as we like to do at the beginning of most of these podcasts. Probably should talk about some rugby futaporo. Sam, on Friday night here in Auckland, Moana Pacifica playing your beautiful Crusaders and a beautiful win.
What a wonderful game for my lovely boys, the Crusaders. Put us up into second place, which was fantastic and is fantastic. They still sit there now. And I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, pretty boring game all round. Let's dip our toes into the water and take a little listen to what unfolded at Mount Smart Go Media Stadium in the area of Penrose. Mount Smart, I believe that's what it's called.
There he is. Tamati had it for about a second, threw a forward pass, but no one cares. He doesn't move too far laterally, does Tamati. Now here comes Hotham. Oh no, and again it's all too easy for the Crusaders. They stroll in, fins up. There's about 53 Marcos on the field at the moment. Playing advantage, I seem to hear, front door ball there, and a dog roll straight across the lengthy Hakataramea grass. How would you defend him? I'd get three of my mates to come with me. Oh my God, Aaron Madge is wearing stubbies. Aaron Madge is wearing stubbies. Do you think you'd ever catch Ian Foster in the coach's booth with stubbies on? Would you catch Eddie Jones? Would you catch Andy Farrell?
Yeah, a bit going on there. Notably, Aaron Major wearing stubbies, and I think maybe he was wearing stubbies because he's buggered off. He's handed in his resignation. He's gapped it. He's left the sinking ship that is the Moana Pacifica team.
When you quit a job, though, don't you just spend your whole time gathering more stuff to steal from that workplace, though? Shouldn't he be taken like
That's maybe
all
what
those,
it was.
all those suit pants that they give him and all the.
I thought maybe he didn't have a pair of stubbies, so he chucks them on so he could wear them home.
Oh, I get you.
No one's going to think you're thieving if you're wearing the items.
True. And in tribute, all three of us are wearing stubbies right now.
It's true. And Aaron Major leaving the team. Your thoughts on that, James McOnie?
Aaron Major is just he's done a pretty good job. I always feel like some teams have luck and it goes their way. Moana, they've pretty much grown that from nothing. They don't have a development program like other clubs. They don't have scouts going around and pretty much accosting 14-year-old boys and their parents and saying, "Come with us." So they've done it the hard way, and I don't think he's done a bad job at all. But it is a tough one, Moana. And also, if you look at that Blues game and the earlier Crusaders game, I thought they were outstanding in those two games. So the potential, the ceiling's high. It's just that it's just too bloody hard sometimes. You don't have, and when you are kind of going and finding your own players, it means that you're not, you haven't got that base of what they call training years, of working with guys. Like there's been so long. Like Levi Almua is a Moana sensation. I think he went to the Chiefs. He's played for two other Super Rugby franchises.
Let him go, yeah.
Yeah, it takes a while until they get to that point, and that's what happens, I think, remember old Seta Tamani Valu, who Graham Henry called Seta, is better. Seta took a while, and he was a sensation for you guys. He barely got a game at the Chiefs, and that's what Moana doesn't have the luxury of. It's like, oh, you're here now, out you go, go play.
Yeah, it's especially the Levi Almua news. That's, I guess, other big news that a guy who seemed to be thrown into the limelight from playing for Moana Pacifica, who now he's a barnstorming midfielder, probably one of the form players of the competition, and now the Crusaders have thought, well, we'd like a bit of that. And the rumour mill is churning. I don't think this has been confirmed, but I saw John Kerwin say it, and he led it in with some Italian, and when he starts speaking the Italian, that it's probably going to be true that he's signed for NZR and a Crusaders contract to come. So they've come in, done the classic Crusaders move and rocked the cradle.
Very, very happy that this is happening. That's what we do.
This is bullshit.
Yeah.
This is
completely disagree.
Justify it, Sam. You've got 4 All Blacks midfielders already, but go for it.
It's because we also get like 900 injuries every season. So especially this season, you can't do that for this season.
I genuinely think like this move is actually what is wrong with Super Rugby. You got the Highlanders down there with, who's playing in the midfield down there? I think maybe Sam Gilbert was playing at 12.
Blow on the pyre, who's quite good, but, still not proven yet,
Yeah, and you're like, they're absolutely crying for a guy like Levi Almua down there, and yet no, he goes to the Crusaders, who somehow must have, I don't know how they're able to pay all these players all this money. They must have the biggest checkbook. It's outrageous. It's Man City all over again.
I think they've got external sponsorship by like a local plumbing company that is really going to pay for Amor down there.
Yeah.
Welcome, Amor. Thank you for hopefully. I hope he does come because he's fantastic.
So I think the way the Crusaders racket works is that if you've got 14 All Blacks, most of their money is coming from that sanitarium, Adidas money.
Not paying taxes.
Exactly.
Yeah, boy.
Seventh-day Adventist money.
Yeah, all that loophole money.
Church on Saturday money. And so they get that money and then it leaves extra cash for bringing in some really good non-All Blacks. And then there'll be, but at the same time, Razor is still he's like a bloody Da Vinci Code genius of finding, albino monks he can put on the blind side, In that case, it's a bad analogy. Is there an albino monk who's played for them? Probably.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Christie's
Yeah, he's albino monk.
Trashed himself. But,
Tom Christie looks like he's 50 years old.
Yeah, he's devastating to look at.
That's the thing. And I just like, on behalf of all Crusaders, I'd like to thank him for his great work at destroying his body and face and looks and ears.
That's what he does. He destroys himself.
That's what he does.
Thrashes himself like a monk. Flagellating.
Yeah.
It's a real Matt Todd mold.
Self-flagellating.
They've got the Matt Todd mold and they've just filled it with another guy who was much younger, but it looked older, so he aged rapidly.
It's a factory down there. We've got 9 guys lined up to do that.
You go up and raid the best players from other teams constantly and consistently. That's not what a factory does. You are thieves.
I'll tell you
It's
what.
not a factory.
I'll tell you what factories do. They go out in their trucks and they find all the good produce and they bring it back and then they put it together into the factory.
here
This is
we go.
exactly how a factory
You
works.
are describing like
We are importing.
what is that big place out in West Auckland where everyone goes and buys their giant jars of
Sylvia
pickles? Costco. You are the Costco of New
Costco's
Zealand
awesome.
rugby.
Costco's fantastic. Have you guys been there? You can buy like 900 kilograms of cereal for like $20.
Or are you just drift net fishing? Are you just going out with the
Yeah,
drift
that's
net?
the way to get fish.
And
yeah,
then-
you get heaps.
And then all of a sudden, we need to do a documentary on the Crusaders who never made it. Like, they sold me the dream, I gave
Yeah.
up. And then they got Levi Almua.
They're like, oh, Dallas McLeod, don't worry, you'll play. Dallas McLeod will sell.
Now I'm making souvlakis, which is the
Those
second
are
best.
so good.
Yeah, they're really
if,
great.
If anyone is in down in Christchurch, do go get the souvlakis. There are like 9 places.
Can you recommend the best right now? Or your
No,
favourite?
they're all good.
Okay.
They're all,
Dimitri's.
they're
Dimitri's
literally-
souvlaki
they're
is the
literally all good.
greatest. Dimitri's, it's in the Riverside Mall. It's the OG souvlaki. It used to be on Colombo Street. You got to go to Dimitri's. Hey, it was mentioned in that, before we move on to another game, it was mentioned in that little highlights clip we played as well. But what about the state of the Tasman Marcos on the field? There was more Tasman Marcos on that field. It was almost at one stage, everyone who scored chucked the fins up.
That's right.
And I was aroused, Sam. I know you're
I was
a
also.
Marco man.
I'm a Nelson guy. You're a Blenheim guy. We love it seeing the
Tava
Marco do their thing.
Nawai's out there. We've got Levi Amur out there.
Will Jordan, of course, back.
Macca Springer touching down and
Macca
chucking up the
Springer.
fin. Noah Hotham's out there chucking up the fin. Fins up!
And on behalf of Christchurch, I'd also like to say thanks for Noah Hotham, who came to us from Hamilton.
Yeah,
Could have
you're
been one of
welcome.
your guys, McOnie.
I don't know how that happened, but there's some crazy family tradition. They're from Putaruru, but everyone in the family goes to Otago University. I'm like, okay, cool tradition, which means straight away they're not sticking around.
Yeah.
Because everyone in the whānau has to go to frickin' Otago to burn a couch and all that
Then
sort
how
of
did he
shit.
not
We
end
were-
up playing for the Landers?
He did play for Otago, but then the Crusaders.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Drift
Go
net fishing.
Crusaders.
Drift net fishing.
Can I just also, before we move on to the next game,
Yes.
talk about Tamaiti Williams, who
Oh.
what a beast.
What a beast.
incredible.
Actual massive human who is going to break all records, because I'm very excited always about who's the heaviest All Black. And I think last one might have been Namia Tialata at about 136 kgs. Pretty good. Pretty good.
That's pretty
What about
good.
Tamaiti, 144.
Yeah,
We're
buddy.
going up 8 kgs because quite often that record will go up like about 2 or 3 kgs.
Yeah.
And I think Namir was quite a big leap. He's a former Hurricanes prop.
yeah.
The face of gout. He and I were in a battle for being the face of gout. Yeah, the face of gout. It was a close run thing. But they went with Namir. I think they felt like he had more reach.
Gout's got you got to get your red wine going on, right? If you're getting gout,
There's
right?
definitely a few triggers. I think there's a lot for some people. It's red wine. It's shellfish is massive. Red meat, mushrooms even. But I think sugar is a huge trigger.
yeah.
Definitely is for me. Gout round Easter, huge.
Yeah,
Well, that's
okay.
actually the original reason why Jesus couldn't get out of the cave. It's a bad case of the gout.
Yeah, he stayed, and that's the thing. He had to. The comeback was after his allopurinol pills tablets kicked in. So it's about 3 days, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
They kicked in.
Yeah, right.
I was thinking maybe Ben Tamiafuna, but obviously he didn't even play for the Blacks, he played for Tonga. So, but he must have been 150 odd.
Well, Ben,
Ben.
I'd say, is in that 140, 150 range, especially when he went to Racing Paris. They had the shorts, and you could read almost the sponsors twice. You know what I mean? Like
it was in the largest font I've ever seen
Yeah.
on a pair of shorts.
Yeah.
Which they must want to pay extra for. They're like, we can get 2 logos on here on this big rig. Well,
So anyway, I'm just happy for Tamaiti Williams. I hope that he goes and breaks that record.
one last thought on this game, and with the signing of Levi Amor, let's say he has signed an NZR contract now, does that make him eligible for the World Cup squad for the All Blacks? Could he potentially be selected in the side? I don't quite understand how it works.
He's eligible. I think he's one of the few players with Moana Pacifica who's eligible for the All Blacks. Also, I had my haircut out in West Auckland.
You look great.
Thank you. By a Pacifica gentleman. His name's Dylan, and he calls him Moana Pacific, and it's quite funny how we're all kind of like
Pacifica?
trying to be the best,
Yeah.
Pacifica, and the actual Pacifica people go, oh yeah, plays for Moana Pacific, and it's like no mucking around.
it makes
We're
you feel-
trying our hardest.
We're giving it.
Makes you feel
giving
good.
it
My
100.
dad from the South Island came up to me genuinely wanting to learn and grow. He's a man from rural New Zealand, and he said, how are they pronouncing Pacifica in this team. They're sort of saying it, Pacifica. And nothing's made me more uncomfortable than seeing a 65-year-old white man from Blenheim really get in there saying Pacifica.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it, but I appreciated him trying to learn and
Good
grow.
on him.
I totally agree. It's like, don't worry if you feel like you're overcompensating. You're probably getting closer to Dylan out west.
Well, beautiful stuff. We'll move on. We're going to briefly not touch on the Blues versus Reds. The Blues thumped the Reds. The Reds thought they might have a go after beating the Chiefs last week, but the Blues said, no, thank you. Devastated them 45-26. And the one thing I will say is, how about that back three for the Blues? They're making it look easy. Absolutely on fire. Caleb Clark sort of showing them how it's done. And, yeah, it was good to see some attacking rugby. Hot stuff out there.
Teflon Talia again, just he is majestic, really. I love even just the Enterprise. There should have been the best. I'm not talking Star Trek there, but the Enterprise is pretty cool. I felt like the reboot of Star Trek was great, but I wasn't sure about Simon Pegg as Scotty.
Me neither.
It's a weird choice.
Yeah.
A lot, and I realise I feel like I'm always one to say this, but Simon Pegg, all his hair grew back. How are they doing it? How are these movie stars doing it? All his hair grew back.
Is this something you're keen on?
Shaun of the Dead, he was going bald. Now he comes back as Scotty and he's got a full head. What are we dealing with? He's a Mission Impossible running around as an action hero. It's a bunch of horse shit.
He's got a full makeup team sorting him out. Is there something you're looking into?
I'm not going to get a full makeup team.
Who's the Shane Warne guy? Who are those guys?
Shane Warne is...
You won't even realise that he's actually a ginger either, because you're saying before the show that you're colourblind and you often think they're blonde. That he's a...
I sort of thought he was blonde. He's not a raging ginger, though, is he? He's not a Finlay Christie kind of character.
No one's
Not
Finlay
like
Christie. I mean, even Ed Sheeran's kind of like bows to Finlay Christie.
Well, I feel like I'm getting gaslit here. Totally. We'll move on.
So anyway, the Blues, I did like it, and it's quite funny seeing Brad Thorne go out there, and he's an interesting character.
Yeah.
He's just, they always call him the world's most competitive man. They celebrated that victory against the Chiefs like they'd won the title.
Yeah.
Like, the full photos, like, everybody get in, it's like Super Bowl sort of styles. And then they went down at home. They're still quite a good team, but I don't know if they're going to, I'll have a look at the table. Are they out of the mix?
Yeah.
This is what I want to know.
Right?
They're currently in 7th place.
Yeah.
The Highlanders were bumped to 9th because those dirty dogs, the Force, somehow got up over the Brumbies, which blew my mind.
Incredible moment.
Well, it's amazing what happens when you drop all your good players and play a bunch of absolute chumps. And we'll talk about that later in a New Zealand context. But right now we'll move on to the afternoon game on Saturday. It was the Highlanders down in Dunedin. And I just want to say, firstly, a huge mea culpa from me. I was saying that this was Aaron Smith's last game. He's got one more down in Dunedin. I got ahead of myself. He had 2 games in a row down in Dunedin. So this week down in Dunedin is his last game down there. So get down and support Aaron Smith. But hell of a game down there. First thing I want to say is, what is going on with the refereeing at the moment of these tries? The minute and a half we scored a try and they said that it wasn't put down. Sam Gilbert dotted down. There's no way that wouldn't be awarded if that was the Crusaders. I was fucking livid when that happened.
See, I disagree. I'm quite into people being treated differently from the Crusaders. I quite like it when the Crusaders get tries up on the board when it obviously didn't matter. Like,
do you ever wonder if your potential love for the Crusaders blinds your opinion for anything else, adding any value to other conversations?
No, I don't think so. One of the great things about supporting the Crusaders is that you don't really look at other people. You just kind of look inwards and enjoy the own stuff you're putting down. But to be fair, I do love the Highlanders as well. I've always said they're my second team, and I love it very much when they do well. And I was very happy to see them take the win.
Yeah, well, thanks for talking to the point that I raised, Sam. I really love it. James, did you see the try at the start and your take on it? Sam Gilbert tries to put it down. It basically, that's a try 100 times, 99 times out of 100. I'd say 999 times out of 1,000. The idea they pull it back saying it's held up, there's like half a hand under it and he's rolled over completely.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, with those ones. I don't think a hand is enough because all it needs is one blade of grass to touch one bit of the ball. So it's got to be more than a hand. I don't mind a forearm underneath it. I'm happy with a forearm. I'm happy with any a foot underneath it. Foot's quite deep.
Yep.
But a hand, come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now. There's got to be a rocking of the ball.
And he rolled over after he scored it. He rolled over on it. the Highlanders had all run back. There's no way that's not a try.
It shouldn't be. Oh, I agree. No hand.
When are we going to get the technology where the ball, like something like there's some sort of chip in the ball that can tell when grass is touched?
When it's touched grass, it's a good idea.
Surely that's a thing that's
Yeah, they're going to get a sensor in the ball, aren't they, for rugby at some point? I thought you were going to talk about the knock-on that looked like a knock-on that wasn't a knock-on, and they gave a try to the Highlanders.
The second one, there was actually two of those. Was it the Ethan de Groot try, or was
it was the one out wide? Was it the Garden Bishop try?
It was.
So what I noticed about that is that the Sky camera operator was doing such a good job that he was right in line with the drop. And I reckon if it wasn't for him, I think he's the Segway or the Steadicam guy.
Yeah,
you quite often see them sprinting down. They're pretty impressive.
Sometimes they fall down. It's hilarious.
Exactly. That's it.
Shout out to Reese. I know him. He also did the Steadicam for Dancing with the Stars.
Correct. Reese and James are our number. Oh, the old school. When I say old school, Reese is old school.
He's 900 years old.
Yeah, he is. And then James is a bit younger and looks like Roger Federer. So
yes, he does.
They are the Steadicam guys, and because he was dead in line with that knock-on, that was the only thing. So Sky made that try possible.
Yeah, and it just looked like
our Steadicam guys.
The more you watched it, the more it just looked like kind of nifty pass work. He sort of bounced past it back to him, and he grabbed it and ran around. It was very invigorating.
Straight down.
The Ethan de Groot one though, then he seemed to drop the ball, and then the refs are like, "Nah, just
you have it, buddy.
Do whatever.
You're a prop. We need to give more tries to props. Go for it, buddy. Good on you, mate."
Hey, I don't know if we've got time for this, but Zoe Saldana, who was in Star Trek and Guardians of the Galaxy, is that? I mean, to be in two, sci-fi franchises, it doesn't seem right to me. Like, you're green in one, and then you're Spock's love interest in the other.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, make your mind up, Zoe.
I think that's the saving grace, is that she was green in one, and then she was herself in the other.
Oh, right.
I think she might have also been in Mission Impossible at one stage.
That's okay. That's not sci-fi. You're not in space.
But it's still an action movie, and because the trouble I have with is Tom Cruise. He's Mission Impossible. He's what's his name? Mission Impossible. Doesn't matter. No one could remember instantly. Yeah. He's the main guy. But then he also came along and was Jack Reacher for a while, who was basically the same guy. Ethan de Groot. Ethan de Groot. He's basically the same guy. You can't just pop out of Mission Impossible, be Jack Reacher, and then pop back
you
and
feel
be
like
Mission
you're in the
Impossible.
same world. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
we're talking about Simon Pegg. He's in Star Trek and Star Wars. Like, those are the
I know.
Those are the two straight rivals.
And straight away, Peg needs to get eliminated from, I don't know whether I want Scotty to blow up, but perhaps he should. It's like, I can't give it any more power, Rouge. And then he's gone. I'm out in space. I'm actually a ginger. Tell Tony Lyall I'm a ginger.
Ethan Hunt is the name I was looking for that whole time. Really could have done with.
Okay, so Ethan Hunt, fine. Zoe Saldana, though, this will blow your mind. She's 44.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That has blown my mind.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
And she's actually
incredible.
Yeah.
Great actress, you got to say. Great.
That's the kindest. Oh, man.
She's,
Gotta find out.
Hey, Sam, how much more exciting was this game, the Highlanders game, than the Crusaders game, by the way?
It was much less exciting.
A tight game, won by a penalty in the final minute. Sam Gilmore getting his redemption after missing that initial try and then holding on all game to kick a penalty to win the game.
I'm a big fan of Sam Gilbert.
Keeping his team in the 8 for 9 hours, but keeping his team in the 8. How exciting. What a time to be alive.
It was good. It was very nice. Well done to him.
Also, I thought the whole game, I kept thinking I was watching the Tasman Marco play the Highlanders. It was like the exact outfit, and again, we've mentioned this, I'm slightly colourblind. I think they had like dark pink shirts on, the Rebels, but it was the exact attire of the Tasman Marco. Blue short, a deep sort of blue short, a red top, the same blue strips on the top. I kept thinking it was the Marco the whole time.
Also, how punchy was that game for a long time? Like, there was skirmishes off the ball all the time, and I was just going, I'd love to know who starts it. Like, I think that's the one advance in rugby, because sometimes people talk about, you need the 360 goggles where you can be sideline, watching the game, the VR stuff that they could probably introduce to rugby. But it's like, I just want to know who actually started it and what they said.
Yeah.
Because you end up seeing Etzebeth shouting at Ala Ala Tour, and it's like, take me back to the start, like the Coldplay video,
There's one of my favourite rugby memories is Carlos Spencer aggressively trying to start a fight with Chris Jack, who was 9 metres taller than him. And he's like, it's like he's looking up at the Sky Tower and trying to fight people in the restaurant up there. It's so funny. And Chris Jack's just laughing down at him into his face like a tiny little ant.
Well,
Carnival.
that happened in the Highlanders game. Aaron Smith took on the lock, Josh Canham, and grabbed him, and he essentially lifted him into the air like a little baby. But Aaron Nuggie wasn't backing down. He was holding him. He was trying to go. Apparently, it was a kick in the head in the ground. And Aaron stood up and said, "No, I'm having this." And he went him. He tried to go him.
Wow.
They should have a rundown after the game of, hey, you remember in like 63rd minute, I got a bit angry. That's because this guy kicked me in the head. We're cool now, but just so everyone knows.
It was a kick in the head, and I wasn't cool with it.
Yeah.
The Rebels always feel that because they do quite well sometimes, you know, and but you never know who any of the players are apart from Reece Hodge. And
Who's amazing, right?
He's amazing.
He's a good player. He's all right. But it looked like their best player, apart from their forwards who were out there kicking people in the heads, they did that quite well, was Shea Illy. Is that the Hawke's Bay? He's sure Hawke's Bay, right?
Hawke's Bay, yeah.
And that Hawke's Bay team is, talk about great imports of New Zealand, alongside with gold kiwi fruit, which I think has been one of the best of recent times.
Really nice.
Totally.
I like it
Completely
because
agree.
it doesn't have that furry skin. Just a nice sort of
sweeter
It's
as
like
well.
a buzz cut. It's
You
like
can
a short
actually,
nut.
if you're lacking a knife and a spoon, you can just eat the whole thing, skin and all.
I think you're
it's
right.
Not really
In
an
a
issue.
smoothie, just drop the whole thing. You don't need to do any prep work. Just
The
drop the
skin
whole
is
kiwi
where
fruit
the
into a
goodness
smoothie.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the golden kiwi fruit and the Hawke's Bay magpies, two of the great imports of recent years.
Yeah.
Andrew Callaway was the other one who I was thinking of, who
Yes.
is very handy, stopped a hell of a try. He's all over the park, it seems. Certainly one of the Rebels' best.
And do you know his hair colour?
Is it strawberry blonde?
Actually, it's not bad
Yeah.
for a colourblind man. That's actually pretty bang on.
All right, we'll move on to the final game that we're going to look at in depth today, and that is the Chiefs versus the Canes, the battle of the lower North Island, whose cities constantly change and
Swap the
rotate.
things.
Where does New Plymouth fit in? Where does Napier fit in? No one knows.
Tomaranui, where are they getting in this?
But it ended up being a
Chiefs banner.
pretty solid win for the Chiefs in the end,
Yeah.
mainly because the Hurricanes were like, hey, fuck it, should we just rest all our best players?
Yeah.
Artie Sevier was on my plane flying back from Wellington on Sunday morning.
Did you talk to him?
He looked bloody rested. I'll tell you that much. He looked like he'd had 40 winks. Wasn't even at the game.
That's a good sign for the All Blacks.
And I noticed at first, I thought, look at this well-dressed individual. Had a great pair of slacks on. He was running, I guess you almost call it schneens, with a running shoe, except it was a dress pant. So not schneens at all. But you don't often see a running shoe with a dress pant.
I've never heard schneens. It's always
You never
been
heard schneens?
I've heard
Schneens.
sneens, but not
Schneens.
schneens.
What's
It's like
schne-
he's wearing a shirt and jeans.
It's more just
No shoes.
You know, you just say schneens, don't you? It's
He's
quite
wearing
funny.
a sarong.
Wait a
and
second. Are
some-
you trying to say sneens?
He's doing
Yeah.
sneens, like Jerry Seinfeld sneens.
Okay. So you're doing it with
Just saying schneens.
Sneens.
Is it like a German version, like schnee,
Schneens?
schnai, schnappy, snappy, snappy, snap?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Isn't it funny? That's the second time in about a month that I've heard someone reference that song from like 2001.
Shit, it might have been me on the last time I was on this podcast.
It was Carno Lloyd on the project. It was weird.
Oh, right.
Well, my first takeaway from this game, I watched the game and then I actually treated myself to the highlights afterwards, and I was very surprised to watch the 4-minute highlight package on YouTube. I wasn't. It's only 4 minutes to capture the whole game, and in the 4 minutes, they spent about 30 seconds taking shots of New Zealand cricket hero Ross Taylor in the crowd. They dedicated 1/8 of their highlight broadcast to Ross Taylor in the grandstand of FML
He
Stadium.
is a
watching the game.
bloomin' legend, though, mate. I would be very happy with that. They used to do that a lot more. They'd focus on random people that they found in the crowd.
Yeah, I always liked the guesswork involved. You
Oh
know,
my God,
because some-
Suzanne Paul's at this game.
Who's he here with? Is that his secret family? We don't know. Who's he gone to the game with?
That's great stuff.
Well, I was excited by it.
I
You
think
guys-
it's cool. Ross Taylor's house used to be walking distance, I think, from Waikato FML Stadium. And now I think he's got a nicer place, and he'd have to drive now, I think. Unless he's got...
It's right in the middle of
he could
town.
e-scooter from there.
I don't imagine, he doesn't strike me as the guy who drives if he's going, like he'd be sacking a couple of bottles of delicious red wine as he's watching the game. He's not going to get back behind the wheel after that, surely.
Might be the future face of gout, though, so that's quite cool.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Okay.
the races, if they skip me and go straight to Ross, then fine. I get it.
That's okay. When
He's
that
got
happens,
proper
that's
reach.
all right,
Yeah, that's
all
fine.
right.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But if someone comes in here and says it's bloody, I don't know, name it Mike Lane, Or would he get gout? I feel like
Some
weekends he could get gout.
He'd give it a good nudge.
I think he would, yeah.
He's dipped his toe into gout, which is half the problem, really.
I love that you go out at the weekend. You go out at the weekend and you just go out for a big night. And then, oh man, I got gout at the weekend.
Yeah, we used to get hangovers when you were younger. I mean, 20-year-old, you go out on the booze, you get hangovers. When you get into your 40s, you start getting gout.
Can I ask you guys? Did people say after this game, you got to be able to win ugly? Was that the thing that they always say after these games?
The catch cry of the commentary was you've got to be able to win ugly, and ugly they did.
So I was, not unfortunately, I was emceeing the New Zealand Boat of the Show Awards. So
Who won?
It was a big boat. There was an 850 T something. I think it was a big unit. But the boat that caught my eye was a little 5 metre that had a very flat bow, but it tilted up into a tent so you could stay overnight.
Incredible.
And so I was like, here we go.
The boat that's a tent.
Yeah, a boat that turns into a tent. But with a sort of hard shell, you know what I mean?
It's like a practical chitty chitty bang bang. I love it.
Exactly. So I thought the Transformer boat was my boat of the show, but this big boat, I think one guy came up and said it was as hard as giving birth, and you could hear all the women in the crowd go, You know how
judging the boats was as hard as giving birth?
No, building their winning boat. And so when the guy said that, you know how he's sort of, and everyone's like,
yeah, he's lost the crowd.
He's lost the crowd. And so, but I think he brought it back with some other off-colour humour. So he was definitely
okay, good on him.
he wasn't giving up. That's what I admired about him, you know. Yeah.
I can't remember.
Sorry, I've gone off funny topic on the boat of the show, but
well done on getting to do the boat of the show.
Good. And so you were doing that, and so you didn't watch the game, is what I'm assuming you're saying.
Yeah, I didn't see the game, but I did see the highlights, and I was thinking, I'm glad I didn't watch that game. It's just stressful all round, and where the rugby isn't quite my jam.
Well, I think we've got a couple of highlights here so we can refresh your memory, if you'd be so kind.
50-inch Samasong. Takiaho goes to the lurch in the middle. Brody Metallic. They'll look to drive this up. Takiaho's tucked it in under his armpit at the back of this maul. They work it over the 5 metre line. Here come the Chiefs Mana. Here comes Takiaho. Here comes the rest of the back line. They're over the line. Surely try. Chiefs Mana! It's a great run off the back of the scrum by Braden Oisey from the Hurricanes. They've got a little bit of head of steam up the Hurricanes as they head down the right-hand side over. Morby over halfway. The big don't argue for Morby. Morby's going to score this. Morby will score.
Yeah, beautiful stuff there. Chiefs Mana, the call ringing through the ages.
You can tell how steamed G-Lane is by the length of his mana. He goes, Mana! And you go, okay, yeah, that's 5 beers. That's, 4, maybe 6.
That's what the police should do. If they pull him over, they're just going to go, can you please say Chiefs Mana into this breathalyzer? And if he goes, Chiefs Mana, they're like, that's 6 seconds. That's too many beers. Mate, Peter Gus Soakula, what a guy. He's got to get back in the ABs, right? He's absolutely ripping and tearing the whole game long.
The thing about it is, like, I always, when they go through the loose forwards who they're picking, and I just go, okay, medium size, and I'm not being unkind. That's just the way they were born and built and whatever. And then you go, Peter Gus, big unit. Big unit.
Game breaker.
And that is where you have to draw the line. You can have as many of those medium-sized forwards as you want. You can even take an undersized, which some nations do, and we could possibly do that if Duplessis Kirifi, played the house down and there was a couple of injuries. It would be him, right? An undersized. But in terms of big units, it's Peter Gus. It's probably Ethan Blackadder is a big unit, and then it's only when Dogroll or Tupou Vai'i decide to play on the side. But I don't think Tupou Vai'i is bigger than Peter Gus.
No way, and that's what we lacked. If you cast your mind back to that 2019 World Cup against England, we ran out of people to smash the shit out of them through the middle. We were crying out for someone to break that game wide open, and a guy like Peter Gus Soakula could totally do that. I actually wondered watching the Highlanders game, Shannon Frizzell was playing at lock, and I wondered if maybe they're branching out, seeing if we can get him to play around the place so he can cover lock, cover 6 at the World Cup, or maybe the Highlanders just only have like 4 people playing for them, so everyone's got to play everywhere. I think that's because the Crusaders are hoarding all the other players.
Yeah, you are right. The Crusaders are great.
They certainly are hoarding, but yeah, what a game! I just would love to see him back there, and it would also, I think, justify that initial selection a little bit more. And keep quiet all those people that sort of say that it was done for dastardly reasons to stop him playing from Fiji, which I don't buy into. I think he was in form when he was picked, and then he almost played himself out of form. But I think the opportunity is there for him to play again.
I think stealing players from the Pacific nations is part of what makes New Zealand strong.
It's certainly part of what makes the Crusaders strong, that's for sure.
Go the mighty All Blacks and the mighty Crusaders.
And a sad day for you as a big Chiefs fan, McOnie. We've got Brad Weber, a long-time servant of Waikato Rugby, and Hawke's Bay Rugby, and he played for Otago for a bit, and the Dunedin Sharks. He's up and leaving. He's going to go cash in Europe.
Yes, he is going to Stade Francais in Paris. What a place, what a city.
Yeah.
Great call. Cool jerseys as well. Probably the most colourful jerseys that you've got. So I like it. I did know about this, and funnily enough, this shows that I can keep a secret as well, I think, and or that I'm a shit journalist, either one. But I did say to him, go get French lessons. Don't be the Kiwi who turns up and can only say baguette, s'il vous plaît.
Yeah.
You want to be the person who can at least have a conversation. So he's gone to Alliance Francaise. They run, it's like a French language place, and they run lessons in most big centres. And I think he's already been in classes for a few months, so he's ahead of the game.
Oh, God bless him.
He's ahead of the game.
And that is one country that they do take it personally if you don't bother learning the language. A lot of other countries you can skate by on a couple of phrases and some broken English. But in France, if you do try to roll in with I'll speak loudly and slowly in English, they're not into it. They really do turn their back on you. So it's good to hear that he's going for the actual learning the language route.
When I went to France, I tried to speak French, and they were like, "You are dumb," and they just spoke to me in English.
Yeah, but that's okay.
I was trying though.
They would have acknowledged your effort, and it'll be a lot easier for both of us if we do this.
Imagine if you had just walked in and said, "Where's the toilet?" They would have been like, "Oh, here we go." But if you're like, "Où sont les toilettes?"
I went,
then there.
"Oh, where is the toilet?"
You slapped
and
them
they
over
went,
again.
"Oh, the Crusaders, the Driftnet, the fish, they get all the player."
And, I like this
greedy,
guy.
They are greedy.
Another
Le
very...
Denkata.
Also, what a time to be alive to go and play at a club in Paris when you're, early 30s, as Brad Weber is. Like, I think it's such a good choice to go and have like a cultural exchange at the same time as
Earning $1
obviously
million.
Very
It's
well.
a great idea.
Well, that's the best thing about it, is that you're not going to, and I don't want to name places, but you know where you don't want to end up. And even some parts of France they're amazing, but at certain times of the year, whereas Paris is just one of the greatest cities in the world. It's top three, surely. Oh, it is in my books.
You can go to Disneyland Paris all the time. It'd be great.
You can.
Yeah, it'd be lovely.
Very funny moment during this game. Anton Leonard-Brown kicking the shit out of the ball into the stands. The half isn't over, unfortunately. He's jumped the gun. Very comical stuff. You hear Brad Weber yell, "It's not over!" as he kicks the ball into the stands. Made me laugh a lot. Looking around, dumbfounded, saying, "What, is it not half-time?" No.
See, that must be the other thing about where the rugby is. You've got the sound of the rain as well to contend with. So the comms, the communication with all your players, it just gets muddled up. It's like, you say one thing, like, tickle your ass with a feather, particularly nasty weather, that kind of like old school. Have you not seen that? It's like some old Two Ronnies joke from... I didn't want to reference the Two Ronnies.
We're getting more recent.
Yeah.
Can we have more updated references, please?
No, we specifically asked for some Two Ronnies references within the people that listen
I
to
personally
this.
asked for fork handles to be here, and all I've got is these handles for forks.
Ah, yes.
I've seen these sketches. I know what you're on about,
thank
buddy.
you, Sam.
Yeah.
Now, Tony looks like the...
Yeah.
Calls himself a comedian. He doesn't even know the bloody Two Ronnies.
Do your research.
Do your research.
I know the Two Ronnies. I just don't take all my references from literally 1971.
78,
Potentially, yeah.
Well,
78.
on that absolutely ripping note, we're going to take a little break and we'll be right back with this week's games. And we are back coming to you sort of live from the Export Beer Garden studio. Not really live at all. It's how podcast works. And again, thanks to Dulux for this coverage of the games that are this week. It is round number, 13 or 14?
14.
It is 14. I probably should know that, really. And, well, there's probably a few games that are going to sort out the top 8.
This weekend is a massive weekend. All the games, I think all the games are incredible ones.
Yeah, well, the Highlanders playing the Reds down in Dunedin. That is Aaron Smith's last game officially in Dunedin. The Reds, they have shown that they can beat the big teams. Not saying the Highlanders are, but, we need to win this to get back in the 8. We were in the 8 for I think 7 or 8 hours. Unfortunately, the Brumbies lost, which dropped us out of that 8.
And also, Tony Lyall, if the Highlanders beat the Reds and the Reds beat the Chiefs, that means the Highlanders are better than the Chiefs.
There's no, I mean,
That's how maths works.
it's certainly
that's how it works.
how it works. Okay, I'll take
Yeah.
that. I'll be down with some of that action.
And again, salute to Aaron Smith.
Yeah, salute to Aaron Smith. What a guy. That's Friday night's game, and I say get around that. Then the Rebels play the Force over, and that actually does matter. I'd love to see a draw, a 0-all draw in that game, just to make sure that they all drop down the table.
They're all sort of they're rocking that sort of 7th, 8th spot to see who can get in there. Maybe Reds up in 6th.
They're
Also,
really
can we
holding it.
also say that the Aussie Friday night game is always the shitter? Isn't it? It's always the all Aussie derby Friday night. It's like, okay. And you know that 0-all actually isn't too far off sometimes.
It starts usually. I'll watch the first game, and then it will start, and I'll think, all right, I'll watch 5 minutes of this. And then before you know it, it's half time, and you're like, all right, I might as well watch the start of the second half. And then before you know it, you've watched 80 minutes of one of the most boring games of all time.
But that, which makes Sean Maloney, their commentator, even better. I think he's a great commentator.
Great.
Yeah.
He is outstanding, and they need every bit of his sort of like showmanship, I guess.
He has carried Australian rugby for the best part of a decade,
Yeah.
Sean Maloney, injecting energy and excitement into games which, quite frankly, are horrific.
Yeah.
Always like taking a moment to just sit back and remember Australia hasn't won the Bledisloe Cup for 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
It's a long time.
20 years is it's so long.
I remember after a
It's
decade, when
crazy.
Sean Maloney launched the Bring Back Bledisloe campaign, and they were like, it's time to re-inject passion and enthusiasm into the Bledisloe Cup game.
It's been twice as long as
Little did he know that another decade would fly by before his very eyes.
I love it.
When do you think they are going to win it back? Do you think it will?
Well, they need to change the rules
They kind of need to change the rules.
because it's as soon as they lose that first game at Eden Park, which they're always going to lose.
Well, they're not playing at Eden Park this year, so who knows?
Is this year the year?
There's no Eden Park games. There's only one game in Auckland. It's at Go Media Mount Smart Penrose Stadium against
Go the
South
Warriors.
Africa, I believe, because this is the FIFA Women's World Cup is on
Of
this year, so
course.
Eden Park's out of action. So this could be the year. Who knows? Maybe playing out of Auckland will
Good
help
luck,
the Wallabies.
Australia. All the best. I quite like it when we don't do so well in the lead up to a World Cup because we often play a little bit better. In the
Well,
World Cup.
there was a big theory that when we lose the Rugby Championship, we win the Rugby World Cup because it had worked out. But then in 2019, we lost them both.
yeah.
So it's not great stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, then we've got a Pacific Island showdown on
This is
Saturday.
the one I'm really interested
Yeah,
in.
Lautoka, you can't. Is that the one where they shook the tree after
Yeah.
beating the Crusaders? Like,
The
we
tree
need to,
was
we need to
exciting.
see what happens, what the status of that tree currently.
Yeah.
I'd like to have updates on the tree.
I think the tree's never been stronger. It has the absolute power and mana going through it from the ground
that's right.
and it's growing exponentially every week. It's going to be huge on Saturday.
I think it's too far for Moana Pacifica to get into the top 8 mathematically. But man, if the Drew is there, that's great. That is
Yeah.
a great sign. I've loved them having them in the competition.
Yeah, and they're
Doing
not.
well.
If they win this and then win in the final round, it's not out of the question. They
Yeah.
could be. And then we've seen it. Who knows what happens when they play those one-off games? They can give anyone a run for their money.
Imagine if the Drew take out the Chiefs.
It would be the
Woo,
greatest.
boy.
And which is it's not unlikely. They probably get a repechage game in the second round, but it's not out of the question that they could knock a big team out.
Incredible.
Crusaders Waratahs, which is sort of almost like a historical grudge match kind of game.
Absolutely. 2014, the Waratahs pipped the Crusaders in the final. This is also a throwback to the 2002 game, 96-19 to the Crusaders. So lots of history with the Crusaders. The Waratahs have screwed us over so many times that I'm always nervous going to this game. And also, we talked about how the Warriors are the worst Australian team. They are the second best mathematically this year.
They just suck in
They're just bad vibes.
They've got rank vibes.
rank vibes, exactly.
Waratahs have rank vibes.
Bad team, bad people. I hope they lose.
I'll be commentating this game for the ACC on Sky Sport 9, along with the Highlanders game on Friday night, so make sure you tune in. Give us a listen when we come to you live from the Export Beer Garden studio. And it's a big day that Saturday because it's 2 o'clock. The Fijian and Drew are playing Moana Pacifica. Then we've got the Crusaders Waratahs all wrapping up with the showdown, the battle of, well, it's not really a battle, is it? Does it have a name? Hurricanes versus Blues? The battle of the top and bottom of the North Island. Doesn't quite ring off the tongue.
The battle of the capital and the biggest city in New Zealand.
Yeah, the battle of Jacinda Ardern's two houses.
Wait a second. Who's the tail of the fish? And it's the battle of the head and the tail. It's heads and tails.
It's heads and tails.
There we go.
McOnie.
There we go. Heads and tails.
That's what I'm here for. I'll see you guys.
Let's go.
And I bet they're not resting their players this week, the Hurricanes, after absolutely shitting the bed, resting all their good players, and probably throwing that game almost. They almost could have won it in the bad weather, I reckon, if they had had Artie Savea out there, Geordie Barrett just kicking the shit out of everything.
Yeah.
That had their big dogs out there running around. Tyrell Lomax, another guy, scrumming, smashing up the guts in the wet. They could have won that game against the Chiefs. So they'll be back playing against the Blues. Who do you think's going to take it?
I reckon the Canes have probably got it. I think. It's hard. It's real hard.
This one is, you know that the Hurricanes have totally targeted it. That's why they did the resting.
Yeah.
So this is probably, I mean, I feel like the next game would be the game of the round, but I just hate watching the Brumbies. They annoy me. Their rolling mauls suck. I mean, I know everyone does them, but they also defend them all by falling down accidentally on purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened? You know, and then they never get pinged. To me, that should be that's a proper yellow, not someone really trying to defend a maul and then it collapses. It's like, I think that guy just pushed as hard as he could, and then ultimately something's going to give.
Yeah.
Whereas if Scott Fardy, I know he's a former Brumby, but whoever their latest number 6 is, who's generally the guy entrusted with taking a knee halfway through them, defending the maul, if that happens, I'm like, nah, I know what you're doing. I know what you did last summer.
Yeah.
Fuck off. 10 in the bin. And also the angle of the camera, Sammy, is that the angle of the camera at that at the stadium in Canberra is too low, so you don't quite get the full. You know, there's a better angle
exactly
for rugby, and they don't have it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
it's frustrating. You're like, something's off, and I can't quite put my finger on what it is.
Do you think because we're getting so many rolling mauls leading to tries, do you think we'll ever get to the point where they'll just make collapsing them all legal?
Yes.
They'll just say, go for it, just collapse them.
They must be talking about it now.
Yeah, they're going to do
the
something.
The top of the try-scoring tables, actually, when I used to like the Brumbies, I used to love Stephen Larkham when he was a fullback and as a 10, Joe Roth.
Sterling Mortlock,
you know, George Gregan. And so all those guys led the try-scoring table. Now it's all frickin' hookers who just hang out the arse of a human centipede and flop on the ground.
Yeah, you know when Kurt Eklund is up there, something's gone devastatingly wrong. No shade to Kurt Eklund, but I think even he'd say it's taking the piss.
Yeah.
But it's kind of classic. It's like, you know, in the Premier League or whatever, if you score a hat-trick, you take the match ball. What are they giving these hookers that flop on the ground 3 times? It's almost embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean,
here you go, mate. That's a great hat-trick. Oh, scintillating.
We think we couldn't really see it because the camera angle was too.
Yeah. Was that just 3 of you holding on to it? So was it a...
Yeah, I guess that the quintessential was Amy Cocaine scoring, 4 or 5 tries in that final and they still lost.
Should they call it a pack try? Sorry.
They should call it a pack try. They should share it round.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
A pack try.
Pack try.
Pack try.
I'm into it.
Are you writing that down?
That's a hell of a day, by the way. 4 games in a row. If anyone watches all 4 of those games, they should immediately receive a knighthood.
I think those are 4 good games, though, right?
They're good games. It's just a long time. You're watching from 2 p.m. till, midnight, on the couch, just soiling yourself.
Sounds lovely.
You couldn't do the 40-hour famine with that because as soon as you watch rugby, you want chips.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you've
true.
got... Yeah, it's too hard to do it
you can't be sitting back
Saturday.
sculling Just Juice and eating barley sugars like they're going out of fashion going, no, I'm doing just exactly the same as they're doing in Africa. And I'm like, I don't think anyone in Africa's eating 400 barley sugars over the weekend.
I thought they had trouble getting water and stuff.
You know, one time I did the 40-hour famine and halfway through I just forgot I was doing it and ate a Lamington.
Oh, my God. Did you have to go around and give all the money back?
Well, I thought about it, but then I thought, well, if I do that, who's losing really? It's only the people who are donating the money to who are losing if I give the money back. So
what the hell were Lamingtons doing in your 40-hour famine room?
I went to the supermarket with my dad. He doesn't give a shit. He was like, do you want a Lamington? I said, I'll take a Lamington. I ate it in the car park. And then I was like, I'm doing the 40-hour famine.
See, I think this is different. I think you've been offered food then, which means that, like, the idea is, hey, I'm not going to eat anything. But if it's offered to you, like if it's on a plate, you don't pay for it, you don't have to earn it or work for it. I think that's okay.
Well,
I think if you were in Africa and someone offered you a lamington, shit yeah, you'd take a lamington.
Now you know you're in the shit because the Crusaders guys
I
giving
know.
you some bullshit loophole,
Yeah.
and so you know
I think
you're
you're okay
wrong.
here.
Loophole logic, classic Crusaders stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to fall on my sword
you
here.
are 100% fine to accept anything if you were doing the 48-hour famine and someone offers it to you.
Cool, Steve Chu, whatever.
Also, just want to say, Ben Schoen played for the Crusaders. I threw him in there as a Brumby earlier. I want to renege. Always want to be accurate here on the Champagne Rugby Podcast. And speaking of accurate, it's time to talk about the TAB good punt.
Oh,
Because we covered ourselves in glory last week.
We are incredible at
For the
this.
second time, we chucked $700 on the tab.
Yeah.
We came in, Crusaders scoring first as the first point scoring play.
Yeah, they did.
Highlanders scoring first as the first point scoring play as a try, both those tries, and the Blues to be the first try scorer. Beautiful
delicious.
stuff. We really won. I was excited, Sam. The group chat, the WhatsApp was going bananas.
There were like maybe 3 messages with lots of exclamation marks in there.
Yeah, our producer
It
who
was
actually
exciting.
chooses the bets, he was saying, oh, look how good I am. And we'll say, no one will ever remember you, Adam, as far as we
This
know.
was Tony Lyall and Sam Smith.
We are the people who choose the bets. We've got another one for you this week, though. And I think the whole pool, the AC pool, is now up to $3,500, and I think they're giving that out. So jump onto the Facebook page, find out how you can get amongst that action with a TAB good punt. But today's bet for this weekend is similar vein to last week. The Highlanders team to score the first try, so it doesn't matter if there's a penalty scored before, just to score the first try. Crusaders to score the first try exact, so they have to dot down, no penalties, and the Chiefs to score their first try. $100 in bonus bets we put on that. Looking to get about 500 back, and I'm jazzed up. I reckon it's a doable bet.
I reckon we've got this in the bag already. We can rely on this money.
so first
we've
try,
got history.
Landers, Crusaders, and Chiefs. Is that
Yes,
right?
first try and Crusaders game has to be the first points of the game.
Oh, right, okay.
But I think that's doable. I think we've hacked the system. I really do. Like, there's no way this isn't going to win.
We have to win.
Book the limousine.
I bet my house that we will get this.
You should literally bet your house.
I will.
Okay, where's your house?
It's in Sunnynook, on the shore, on the North Shore.
Well, that's a lot.
Was there any
Two
flooding
betting?
there?
It's a 4 Betty.
4 betting.
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't want to brag, but I'm doing all right for myself.
4 betting.
Turns out being the warm-up guy for Dancing with the Stars pays off.
When did you buy your 4 betting? This is property talk.
It was 2019.
Oh, shit. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
this
nice.
is great.
Is that from your leftover dentistry money?
That's exactly how I got into the housing market. I highly recommend becoming a dentist and then buying a house and then becoming a comedian.
Okay.
At a time, I was the richest comedy writer and the poorest dentist in all of New Zealand, which is a wonderful way to live your life.
Speaking of comedy, since we're wrapping up this podcast,
Yes.
Comedy Fest is on. I open tonight. We're recording this on Wednesday. I don't know when this comes out. It'll come out today. So tonight and the next 4 nights in Auckland, if you're in Auckland, come along to the show.
Where?
9:30 at Q Theatre.
Right.
Lovely
Every
venue.
single night. Hell of a time. comedyfestival.co.nz and type Tony Lyall in. Come along to the show. I do talk about some rugby stuff. There's actually a hell of a yarn, actually,
Wow.
from a rugby game that I came to, the Super Rugby Pacific final. That was the Blues versus the Highlanders. Something truly horrific happened in the stands, and we talk about that during the show. So come along, get amongst the Comedy Festival. It's going to be a good time. Oh no, I thought I was leaving some space.
Yeah,
I was-
what about are you doing?
I was just trying to think of anything to do. I watched 7 Days. I'm working on that this week, so
Okay,
watch
cool.
that. Thanks.
McOnie, anything you want to plug?
Crago's Wild Thursday nights.
What a show, love it.
Yeah, it's still going strong after 17 years. So that is Mondays and Thursdays on Prime, and actually we're on Sky Sport at 7 and a bit later on Prime. But hey, we're still around.
I have noticed you guys have gone you've ditched the suits, you've gone full casual.
Yeah, I'm not sure about full cash,
Yeah.
but I don't make any. Maybe full cashmere would be all right.
cashmere.
Full? No, I think that's too much.
You reckon?
I think bring back the suits.
The static
Leisure
electricity would build up and you'd
true.
end up shocking each other and all the mics would cut out and stuff. I don't
yeah.
think it's a good move.
Bring back the suits. That's my only advice. Other than that, the content is great.
Okay,
Love the
thank
show.
you.
Love the show.
And you can also watch me on the project tonight. I'll be out there talking serious news. But other than that, follow all
Sorry,
3
you're
of us.
on the project tonight and then doing your show.
Yeah, man.
Wow,
I'm
look at
all
you.
about jobs. Give me all the jobs.
900 jobs, Tony.
Speaking of
Love
jobs,
it.
we're going to go to the next one. So let's wrap up this podcast. Thanks for listening to the Champagne Rugby Podcast.
Go
from
the
Export
Crusaders!
Beer Garden Studio. Go the Highlanders. Go New Zealand.
Driftnet.